here we're going to be talking to Spider-Man No Way Home. That's a full spoiler review. We're going to break down everything. And we're going to talk about the future of Spider-Man. It's got a lot of good stuff we're going to talk about. Let's get into it. All right. So today we have a great panel. We got Josh Ryan here and TJ Zorich. Did I say that right?
Zorich, close.
Zorich. Keep forgetting that. And we got Forrest Forte. How are you doing? Oh shoot! I just named it. I'm sorry, man. That was
Well, that didn't go as planned.
Sorry.
The Spider-Man.
I forgot.
The Spider-Man movie began with Spider-Man's identity being revealed. We figured we'd start the same way.
But you may know him as the former co-host of the Seven Webheads podcast, the OG.
That's putting it lightly.
Yeah. So great to have him here. And we got Louis Lepka is going to pop in here at some point. I probably got busy, but he'll probably pop in here at some point, and Andy Signor may pop in here at some point too. So those guys will come in whenever. But we're gonna break down the movie, and Josh, why don't we start with you? What are your initial thoughts? Again, guys, go away if you haven't seen it. It's all spoilers.
Leave.
Yes.
I was lucky enough. I got to see this at an early press screening, so I got in before all of those spoilers flooded Twitter and angered a lot of fans. Luckily, I was able to miss that, so I went into it like especially blind, and it lived up to every bit of my expectations. One thing what I tweeted out afterwards was believe the hype, because this movie had been hyped up so much that a lot of people were thinking there's no way it's going to live up to it. It's going to fall short, and it didn't. It was amazing. It blew my mind.
And TJ, what were your first initial thoughts?
And so I'm really happy I got to go and see this 3 days in a row, 3 separate showings, because my very first one, I didn't have the strongest mental state going in. Exterior circumstances had me.
Sorry.
No worries. How's it going, Lewis?
Hey, what's up, everyone? Sorry for the delay, man. I'm at work. I had to go to Frankenson, but I'm excited to be here with you all.
No problem.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. And so exterior circumstances had me clouded for the first time a little bit. So I'm so happy I got to go 2 more. It was amazing. Exactly like has already been said, it had so much hype going in, and it was going to be tough to live up to that hype. And it absolutely did. It was so much fun. I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit, like movie wise specifically. There were some nitpicks that I had, but in terms of they had to stick a landing for such a tough event, and they pulled it off.
Yes. So, Forrest, what are your initial thoughts?
So I am sadly one of the people who got spoiled through YouTube and all that stuff, and clips and just lock frames and so on. But and I even told this to people too. When I saw the spoilers, all it did was make me kind of grin. I didn't know every spoiler. I just knew minor things here and there, and I just went, this is going to be a good time. It's it didn't kill the experience at all. But mind you, leading up to it, all the trailers, I kept flow, and big Spider-Man fan here. I mean, that's hard for me to do. And it was someone's like, oh, what'd you think of seeing that? And I'm like, well, it's cool that Electro has a star. I mean, it's I just think it's so minute. And then when I finally got to see it, if any of y'all have watched the Spider-Man retrospective thing I did, I said Homecoming is the best MCU movie. Not anymore. That's No Way Home. No Way Home just really, really hit. It made me smile. It made me laugh. The audience was all game for it. And even that I knew the spoilers, I was actually saying to a guy who didn't watch one trailer for this film. I didn't know the guy, but every reaction, I was like, man, this is just the world to this guy right now. And it was the world to me too. Everything about it, the effects, the execution. And surprisingly, the biggest thing I had was like anxiety for some scenes. So it had almost every emotion you can look for a movie. And I loved it. It was great. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you guys said. I actually was spoiled to some of it. I mean, I already knew some of it because of the scoops that FandomWire put out. Wow, a year ago, maybe. I don't know. It's a long time ago.
Yes.
But you're right.
October
You're
12th,
right.
2020. I just did a little
There you
intro.
go.
I did a little intro about it on our Agents of Fandom podcast, and October 12th, 2020 was Canadians' Thanksgiving. It was my sister's birthday. FandomWire broke the internet. It was a good day.
Yes, Andy Signor, our friend, wrote that scoop. Great scoop. Probably one of the biggest, maybe ever. I don't know. That was a huge scoop. No one believed it.
Yeah, nobody believed it. People, we got scoffed at on the internet repeatedly, saying it's not going to happen. There's no way they won't do it. And then, man, how amazing was that?
Yeah, and now people are like making memes of us, which is hilarious.
See, I played it smart, you guys. I wasn't getting scoffed at because I wasn't part of FandomWire yet. I just joined in late, so I didn't have to deal with all that, and I can just keep joining in on the credit.
I want to be part of FandomWire.
Oh,
hey, anytime, Lewis. Anytime.
Yeah, man. I don't know why we haven't collaborated like this before, man. But I love you guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah. Thanks. I love you guys. I love you too, and I'm glad you could join us. What are your thoughts on the movie?
Oh, what was my thoughts, man? I loved it, but I loved it. We're talking spoilers, right? Yeah, spoilers. I love the movie. I love the movie. But it's all about Sony Spider-Man for me. I mean, I could do without Tom Holland. Bring back the Sony Spider-Verse. Tobey Maguire, of course, is number one for me. And Andrew Garfield's stock went up. So yeah, I don't mind them making a parallel Spider-Man verse with Tobey and Andrew in there. It's a fan pleaser. The movie was a fan pleaser. I did get spoiled, but it's all right. It didn't ruin the movie, I don't think. But what more could I say? I rank it for live action. Raimi's Spider-Man 2, Raimi's Spider-Man 1, then this one, No Way Home, and that's the way I rank the top 3.
All right, yeah. So let's get into the Sony Spider-Man while we're at it. So, Tobey Maguire, who knew he was going to come in before? Did all of you know?
I knew.
You all knew.
Like I said, I got spoiled.
You all knew. Well, okay. So, I loved it. We got someone else popping in here. Let's see. Got Garrett from Agents of Fandom. How you doing?
My guy.
So we're just talking about Tobey Maguire. So I loved it. I mean, I grew up on Tobey Maguire. He was my Spider. I love Andrew Garfield as well. We'll get to him in a minute. But I loved Tobey. I loved seeing him. I thought that youth pastor joke was the funniest thing. I mean, really, like everyone laughed. It was the funniest thing in the whole movie. And he did. He looks like a hipster youth pastor. It is hilarious. And
he looks like Robert Pattinson. Andrew Garfield looks like Robert Pattinson.
Yes, he does. Yes, and I love that they brought up the organic webbing. That was awesome to see.
Yeah, they had to. They had to address that.
They had to. I did think the way they brought them in was a little weird. And we'll get to Ned in a few minutes, but I thought the way they were introduced is a little odd. But what did you guys think? Yeah, go ahead, Lewis.
Oh yeah, Ned. Okay, look, man, it was a great movie, but Ned ruined that intro, man, for both of them. We didn't need any jokes. I don't know that's gonna play after a few times of watching it, because Ned and his mom were like cracking jokes, like, man, let Toby and Andrew Garfield have their moment, dude. We don't need Ned's jokes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just a nit. I don't know. After, I was just happy to see the other Spider-Man, but maybe after a few viewings, that may get on my nerves. But I don't think we needed a punchline joke during that. I think they should have let like Tobey Maguire like breathe a little bit, like, wow, he's back, type of thing.
Yeah.
But Ned's joke. I mean, it's MCU, man. Every time they, in my opinion, every time they went MCU, the movie was the weakest point. When it went Sony Spider-Man, Raimi style, it was A+.
Yeah, and I know I agree with you. I think some of the things that are the weakest about the MCU are prevalent. Even I love the MCU, but the weakest parts about the MCU were prevalent here, except for the Sony stuff, which is surprising. But why don't we start with you, Josh? What did you think of Toby and Andrew? Start with Toby.
Yeah, I mean, Toby, we haven't seen him on screen in a while. He hasn't done a movie in a long time. So just seeing him on screen, I think it had even a little bit extra kind of nostalgia and shock value than Andrew Garfield, because we've got him Tick Tick Boom, we've got him in Tammy Faye. He's really prevalent right now. But Toby showing up, it was like a throwback. It was like old school. I grew up watching Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 in theaters. I'm a huge fan of Sam Raimi, so it was amazing. And you guys were talking about the introduction. I think the intro of Andrew Garfield worked, but then doing the same exact thing for Tobey Maguire 30 seconds later, that felt a little cheap to me. I thought that they were going to do the portal, get people anticipating Tobey, and it wasn't going to work, and then Tobey would be introduced in action like a short time later in his own thing. So I thought just stacking them on top of each other, like I did one portal, here's Andrew, I did another portal, here's Toby. That I thought was a little cheap, but I mean, I was just great to see them. I was just happy to see them. So.
Yeah, I agree. TJ, what do you think?
So I kind of agree with Josh's take that the second portal didn't quite hit as hard for me, but I feel the opposite in terms of I actually really like how they did it. I love that they introduced Andrew first, because the more charismatic of the two. He's the funnier of the two. And so the way they did that, I loved his interactions with Lola. I thought they were hilarious. And that's what I love about what the MCU does more than the Sonyverse does, is I always found the Sonyverse interactions to be very film-like and not how actual human beings interact with each other. And I love getting to see Andrew and getting to see Toby, the kindness that is Peter Parker, of like, oh shoot, we made a mess. Like, yes, of course we'll clean this up. Sorry about that. And it's the example of when they're Peter Parker, they're the polite, nerdy kid, even when they're 40 years old. And when they got the mask on, they're the quippy, jokey Spider-Man. And so I liked the entrance. I love getting to see them interact with Ned's Lola. The one thing I definitely find interesting is that I'm not letting this bother me at this point. The MCU is just really diving into this, and the Ned just already being able to handle the magic thing, it being easy, it being no problem. That used to be something that would bother me, but with the Katie firing the arrow at the Dweller in Darkness and Shang-Chi, they really seem to be trying to get us to embrace the people that we're following them for a reason. They have some gifts. It's a comic book movie. Just buy in. And so that's something that in the past may have bothered me, but I like how they did it.
Could I ask a question to the panel?
Sure.
Why didn't they open another portal to find Tom Holland Spider-Man? Like they opened one, two. Why didn't they just go? Okay, let's do it again. Imagine if we would have gotten like another Spider-Man we've never seen before. That would have been nuts. But anyways, couldn't they have just done that like again and then Tom Holland shows up? Or did I miss something there?
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, whatever. And they were like, no, third. We're walking.
Hey, what if like the third Spider-Man was Riley, man? That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Imagine.
That would have
I
been
mean, I was
fun.
still hoping for Miles.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Miles would have been awesome, but they don't want. I don't think they want to do everything at once. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
they should have done Nicholas Hammond as a joke. Just
or the Japanese Spider-Man actor.
Or him,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
dude, I was keeping my fingers crossed for some Spider Ham, dude. I wanted to see a pig in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just jokingly goes, Peter Porker.
Imagine. Oh my gosh.
That would have been fun. Yeah, I agree. I don't know why they just opened up again. I guess they were just like, let's just find them somewhere else. But I mean, even if they had more Peter Parkers, like, wouldn't that be a good thing?
Well, I mean, my thing is that do we know they didn't open another portal to get to him? They immediately started trying to figure out of where he could be, and after talking to Toby, MJ immediately was like, "Oh yeah, I know where he is." I'm assuming they just immediately opened up another portal, and that's how they got there.
Okay.
I mean, MJ doesn't want to swing again, so.
I gotta watch it again, but just because I'm a believer that just because you didn't see it on screen doesn't mean it didn't happen. So you may have a point, like with stuff like that. So I don't think it's necessarily a continuity error.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. It may not have been. So let's talk a little bit about Ned, because I want to talk about Ned. I want to talk about Happy. I saw Andy's review. It was yesterday. I don't know. But he brought up a lot of things that I totally agree with. I'm kind of sick of the dumbing down of characters. And now Ned wasn't necessarily dumbed down, but like you said, like all of a sudden he's good at magic, and like that whole thing, I'm sure, was a setup for Hobgoblin. Can we all agree that was just a setup for Hobgoblin, right? So, I think the way they're going to go with Ned is that because he's not friends with Peter, Peter still thinks of him as a friend, but that little joke about I'm not gonna try to kill you or something that Ned makes, like, I think he is eventually. He is gonna try to kill Peter because he's gonna turn into the Hobgoblin. I'm sure that the memory erase thing, which we'll get to in a minute, is gonna be the thing that allows him to do that. Because a lot of people wondering, how's he gonna turn into the Hobgoblin when his best friend is Peter? Something drastic would have to happen. Well, it did. He doesn't know Peter.
Right.
So I think it'll probably be the Hobgoblin. I wish they would have more done the hint that he has magic instead of just outright showing us. I wish they would have hinted at it a little bit more.
Didn't pictures surface of the actor, I'm blanking on his name, who plays Ned now, like all of a sudden like ripped now after filming this movie? Like maybe he's getting in shape for that Hobgoblin role. I saw a picture of him now, and he's got like abs.
I have not seen that, but I'm curious.
I haven't, but that makes me intimidated.
Look it up. It came out.
I would like to see it.
Yeah, and there were early versions of the movie that actually had I don't know if it was a different version of Ned, but a Ned Hobgoblin. So I don't know. They obviously didn't do that, but there was some. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I apologize again for my connection, guys. You guys,
no,
everyone looks great. Everyone looks great except me. But
no, it's all right.
I wanted to see Ned kiss Zendaya at the end. to kind of like
what was going to happen.
Oh my gosh.
Salt in that
It would have been
wound.
kind of like a hint of the rivalry in the future.
Yes.
But I don't think Zendaya would have done it. You know?
I
It's too
agree with you.
I think Ned kissing MJ is less realistic than Ned being able to do magic on the first.
That's
wow.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, that was wow, that was cold. But no, but I mean, I agree. I actually thought that's what was going to happen at the end.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to realize that they were together, and that was going to make him walk away. But it wasn't that made him walk away. It was the thing on her head and him realizing, which I know people have problems with. It's hit or miss, but I love that scene. I think that is Spider-Man to me, like giving up your happiness or giving up your happiness for other people.
Right.
And I feel like, go ahead.
That scene is actually why I don't think we're going to get Ned Hobgoblin. I think they're setting up for us to think it could be happening, but I think it would cheapen that scene a little bit if Peter making the right decision for other people, for saying, I'm going to put others above myself, it puts them in danger to be connected to me, and stepping away from that. I think the potential rumored Ned Hobgoblin could have been a multiversal look on how it could be if he keeps trying to play both sides. And I think Peter ultimately making that decision to separate his friends from his Spider-Man life, I don't think we're going to get Ned Hobgoblin. I think we might get still more Ned maybe involved with Doctor Strange and Wong in some capacity, but I don't think we're going to get full-on villain Ned, personally.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that. I do think that it would cheapen that moment of him, of him coming to Peter and saying, I'm never going to kill you, man, And there was a tease, I think, in his house with like a bunch of like knives on the wall too, at his Lola's house. I don't know if anyone else noticed that.
I didn't notice
that. There was like a green like clothing piece that she was sewing in like a sewing machine. So I think they tease maybe little bits, but I think I agree with you, TJ, that ultimately, if they were to do that, it would cheapen that decision to sacrifice, his personal happiness for his friends, the good of his friends overall.
And we could be I could be completely wrong on this, but I saw like the same thing, Garrett, when I was watching that, seeing the sewing machine and that little thing. It gave me very big Shang-Chi vibes. Like, it looked so similar to the type of material that their end costumes were looking at. And so I think we could see some mystical Ned in the future.
I mean, I was just thinking, because we're talking about Hobgoblin. So what if at MIT he makes a glider and some guy named Roderick steals it? So technically he's still kind of Hobgoblin. He created something to kill Peter, but he still doesn't have any bad intentions.
That's in the comics as well, as Ned Leeds getting framed as Hobgoblin, and so I like that as well. I could see that as well.
They definitely have a future with Ned. I just hope he's not the one-liner guy. The actor looks dope, like outside the MCU. He looks like a mini Rock, like he's buffing and stuff like that. And they make him look terrible in the movies, honestly. And the actor could definitely look menacing and evil. And I think nothing more intriguing than your best friend coming after you. That's Sam Raimi's Spider-Man-ish. I would love to see him turn evil, honestly, but that's me. And also, guys, what do you think? MCU's been kind of like one of the criticisms is that they don't have villains, but watching William Dafoe and kind of the Doc Ock, real villains, but they're anti-heroes. But man, it was a big difference, and I think that's why people love this movie, because you have real threats this time. You know what I mean? Dude, not like
Willem Dafoe was perfect. He amazing.
He's William the Friend.
And Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx did so spectacular in this new, remake version of
up, bro.
Yeah, I still didn't understand how Jamie Foxx changed so much.
Or how he got brought in. Because
that was my biggest thing is why was he there?
Yeah. Well, J. Jonah Jameson. Why is J. Jameson there? Like
Into
it was
the J.K. Simmons verse.
He's just part of their universe. That J.K. Simmons, that J.K. Simmons is just part of the MCU.
Yeah, but does it mean there's already an Electro there already? Like, what? Because the spell was after, it was the movie before, right? It was before the spell was implemented. So, like, is there another Tobey Maguire looking person, like in Tom Holland's world? Like, that's kind of weird.
Well, we see in Loki and other Marvel projects that some universes have variants that people look exactly the same. Some are totally different. Okay. They reference that as well in No Way Home, where they kind of shout out like Norman saying, Oscorp doesn't exist here. My house isn't there. Someone else is my home. And so they kind of note that some have the same and some have the difference. That I don't know why Electro was there. That kind of like that story-wise, obviously we want Electro there, and Jamie Foxx was awesome. But with him not knowing who Peter Parker was Spider-Man, it doesn't totally add up why the spell would have taken him there. What I found so interesting is the movie is how individually all the actors I thought did great in their roles. The Sandman and the Lizard, it kind of seemed like they didn't actually have those actors on set with how much they were taking from Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man. But Dafoe was amazing. Molina was amazing. Jamie Foxx was amazing, especially Dafoe. Yeah. I just thought he was so wonderful. What I found interesting, though, is that I didn't really feel like any of them were the antagonist of the film. And I really felt like the antagonist of the film was the battle going on inside of Peter of whether or not he can overcome the responsibility that he needs to and be that hero and not let the anger and the hate get the better of him. And so I really thought that this movie took an interesting twist on that there wasn't actually a main antagonist, and the main antagonist was kind of the emotional battle.
Yeah, I agree. I think the spell and everything was just so convoluted that Electro, I mean, I don't know why he was there. He didn't know Peter, but a lot of this movie, you just have to go, it's and that's my one big criticism of the movie is that it, like Andy said, it wasn't honest trailer proof. I still think probably the best Marvel movie, not just MCU, but just Marvel movie in general, is Winter Soldier. That's the gold standard for me. I do think they could have tightened some of that up a little bit, but other than that, like, it's just so much fun. You just kind of go, who cares? That's really what most people are like, who cares? It was a lot of fun. So I think that's why it's getting such hype. I don't know that it's my favorite yet, though. But I agree, TJ. The antagonist was the battle with Peter, but I loved Dafoe. I also thought it was great that we got to see Ock fighting on their side. That was so cool.
Yes.
Like, he is basically the one that stopped Goblin. Or no, Electro. Is it Electro? I forget.
Yeah, Electro. And I question that too, because he has these like gigantic metal arms that he just, attached to him. I was wondering why Electro didn't just like blast him away with electricity. But I'm glad he didn't, obviously. Yeah. But that definitely crossed my mind. Like, wow, this guy's got massive metal arms.
Yeah.
Riley, real quick, man. Hey, guys, I got it. Unfortunately, look, it's Christmas. I got to get going. I got called into work. If you guys are in California, come down to Frankenstein. This is how it looks like.
Oh, you're at Frankenstein. I love Frankenstein's.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'll hook you guys up with a soda, whatever. It's been great meeting you guys. Look it up on Google, Frankenstein, and stuff like that. It's like a nerd convention. Riley, I want to thank you so much for having me here. I love your site. I love what you do. And I'm going to give Spider-Man a 9 out of 10. Tobey Maguire all the way, still my number one. But hey, Andrew Garfield, his stock went up. It's a great time at the movie where you like throw your brain aside and just have a good time and cheer. And let's move forward. 2022. Let's have more good movies like this, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yo, since I'm on FandomWire, maybe DC's listening. Come on, DC, man. You have better characters. Get your ass rolling. What's up with you?
Yeah. All right, real quick, Lewis. Really quick, Lewis. I want to ask everybody, so I want to get your thought quick. If you could only get one, The Amazing Spider-Man 3 or Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 4, what you choose now?
Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 4, because I may piss off people right now. The only reason this movie's good is because we wanted those other guys to come in. That's why everyone's hyped about it. Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
The only reason.
Hey, people were talking about the cameos, right? They were mostly excited to see that. So that's why. Bring back Sam Raimi. Let him do one more. Redeem Spider-Man 3. That's what I want.
All right.
But everything's good, man. It's going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Love you all, guys. Come to my channel as well.
Yeah.
And collaborate, Riley.
Yeah.
And everyone here. Thank you.
All right.
I'm on the other side of the world.
All right. See you.
Riley, could I bring up something real quick?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Since we were talking about the emotional aspect and that really being the driving force of this movie, I wanted to talk about his Uncle Ben moment that we got here. Delivered obviously through Aunt May's death at the hands of Green Goblin, because I've heard some people say that they did not like Aunt May filling that role, but I thought it worked. And whereas in the first two, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, we really get his origin, him having that moment of loss and guilt, which is kind of what drives Spider-Man. That's necessary.
Right.
Within the first, 30 minutes of their movies. Here, they built up this character. We see how inexperienced he is. He's just trying to be a hero, running around wanting to basically play Avengers. But here, this is like his real true origin. He gets that moment. He gets that death, the loss, the guilt. He gets the speech. And I feel like all that build up and then having Tobey Maguire there, Andrew Garfield there to guide him because they've been through it. I thought it was handled perfectly.
I agree. It's bittersweet ending for me, but I loved where they're going with this. That suit, by the way, at the end of the movie, perfection.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just so good. And I really think where they're going is good because you don't, even if it looks like he's still going to stay in the MCU, which I'm happy about. I want him to stay in the MCU, but I want less MCU reliance. I think we can, every superhero can have their corner of the MCU and do their thing. I do think it'll still, like always, have like sidekick cameos. Like, I think Daredevil's an obvious choice for the next one. I mean, they're bringing back Matt Murdock. I mean, that was such a cool scene, by the way. I think what I mentioned earlier, while we're talking about that scene, what I mentioned earlier about the dumbing down of characters, I do think Happy was very dumb, the whole movie, and so was Doctor Strange. They were both so dumb. Like, that bothered me a little bit. Like, Happy is from Iron Man 3 is a guy who's, checking out that weirdo guy with the, I don't even remember what his name was, but he was a guy, he was like checking him out and following him in Iron Man 3. You guys remember, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But going back to that though, at any point in the MCU, was Happy actually good at anything other than just being comforting to Tony? Like, you look at Iron Man 3,
he was.
you look at Iron Man 3, and yeah, he was following that guy, but he also immediately got spotted and then got blown up. You you bring it back to the early flashback from Iron Man 3, and he's diving on Tony, and then even later with Aldrich Killian, he's showing he's with the head of security thing. He's not doing a great job. Early Iron Man, he's Tony's bodyguard, and he lets him go out on his own, and he gets blown up again. So,
but didn't he save Tony on the racetrack from Whiplash?
Yes, he did.
That.
By driving. He's always been a good driver.
That's why I said good driver. He's also a good director. He made a good movie called Iron Man.
Yes, he did.
Don't get me wrong. Jon Favreau, 10 out of 10. Happy Hogan, 10 out of 10 driver. But has he ever actually been that qualified mentally, I guess?
I think he has. I don't think he's like, some super spy. I don't think we expect him to be. But the fact that he didn't look at a blind lawyer and go, how did I know Avengers? How did he catch that? Like, he's...
Not to mention, Jon Favreau knew Daredevil when Ben Affleck was Daredevil. Should have recognized him.
Very true.
Exactly. And I think that we don't expect him, like I said, we don't expect to be some Black Widow or Hawkeye. We just expect him to be a confident person. Like, he's been running a lot of things. Maybe not always the best, but he's been doing a lot of things with the Avengers. He's not a complete buffoon, but he was here. He is a complete buffoon. And then and then Peter was kind of done with bringing all the villains to the apartment, and I do think Aunt May's death was his fault. I'm sorry, it was Peter's fault, because he brought all those guys to the apartment with Aunt May hanging out there, and
But we needed it to be his fault.
I know,
because that's part of the guilt. Just
but
like
is it his
Garfield?
She's also an independent adult who could simply say, I shouldn't be here. Let's take you into this spot. I'm gonna leave.
Yeah,
but that's not who she is. And that's not who he is.
She's like, she wants this to be done like very badly. So I think, I don't know. I'm not going to talk anymore about that. But yeah, I think we're supposed to get the point that she like wants this. She's going to be there regardless.
Oh yeah. I mean, she's the one telling him,
right.
She's the one telling Peter to try and save these people. She's the one who puts that in his mind to begin with.
And even after she's hurt, she still says, we did the right thing,
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I do think you're right. The point was to make it his fault. I agree with you.
Yeah.
However, I think that it was so dumb. It like the Uncle Ben thing, which I'm also sad. Basically, he didn't have Uncle Ben. No, I'm sorry. I'm sad about that, because now this MCU Peter didn't have that Uncle Ben story, which we kind of suspected. But with Uncle Ben, it makes more sense the way it happens. Like he was selfish, and that's how it happened. But with this, it was just pure stupidity. Like it wasn't like oh. I let people know. He's always the joke is he always takes his mask off in all these movies, like whenever he meets someone. So I think that would have been a better, like maybe she was killed because people knew who he was and then went after him. I think that would have been a better plot point instead of him bringing all the villains to his house and then them killing her. I mean,
from a logic standpoint, I agree with you, but thematically, I don't think that would have made sense, because the point that it's trying to drive within Peter is it's so important to always do the right thing. You have the power, you have the responsibility, you need to do this. But at the same time, it's the other aspect of it that Doctor Strange is trying to teach him, that Green Goblin is trying to tell him, that you can't keep being Peter Parker and Spider-Man. You can't keep bringing these people into your lives, because bad things will happen to them, because not everyone has that same power that you do. And so I think it fit in thematically that way. And it's exactly what led Peter to make that decision at the end of the movie with MJ and with Ned of, damn, they're living their lives. They're doing well. I have to let them do that, because when I get close to people, bad things happen to them.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of little inconsistencies and plot holes that we mostly just ignore. It's probably it made my top 5 MCU ranking. I don't know where it fits on your guys. Josh, where is that for you?
I mean, it's definitely in the top 3.
Yeah. I to me, I think I had it number 5. I think number 4, number 5.
4 for me.
4, okay.
4 for me.
What about you?
I think I already said it was my number 1, just because
number 1.
It might be my number 1. It might be.
I mean, I have my list of all of them ranked, so.
Okay. Now what?
I was just looking at mine as well.
Now what about just? By the way, good follow FandomWire on Letterboxd. What is it rank for you with Spider-Man movies out? Just Spider-Man. I'm feeling we're getting a lot of number 1s. Josh?
Yeah, I think it's my number 1. I've always been in the camp of Spider-Man 2 is the best. I absolutely love Spider-Man 2. Now, again, I've only seen this the once. I'm going to go see it again tomorrow. And maybe that'll change after it sinks in. Maybe I'm just hyped up right now, but it's my number 1 out of the Spider-Man movies.
TJ?
See, yeah, that's where I differ from Josh in our earlier guest takes. Is Spider-Man 2 it's not my number 1. I do think No Way Home, it's my number 1 for sure. But Homecoming and Far From Home and No Way Home are in my top 3 for live action. And Into the Spider-Verse is, if we're throwing that in there as well, it's right neck and neck with No Way Home. It wasn't as enjoyable of an experience for me, but it was probably a better quote unquote film. And so, yeah, No Way Home is my number 1. I have the Tobey franchise a bit lower on my list, but No Way Home number 1 without a doubt for me.
I think I have it at number 2 on my list. Forrest?
It's kind of the thing. I'm having a battle at the moment, because it's like my number 1 is Spider-Verse, just because that was so different and unique and also funny and just amazing to watch. And I just love how that story wrapped up. But like, it's a battle of No Way Home, which I prefer more. So at this moment, it could be number 2, it could be 1, but it's a very like close race with the 2.
Well, and what makes it so tough to compare with Spider-Verse 2 is there's so many things that can be done in animation that just can't be done in live action. Is one of the things that, obviously, the story and the acting from Spider-Verse was amazing, but one of the things that made it so great was the sweet animation, the comic style animation that we had never seen before. And so that's why they're so tough to compare, just because they're so totally different.
Well, let's also add to it as well. When the No Way Home trailers dropped, like everyone around me was going to the whole thing, and I was just like, to the whole thing, just trying to stay cautiously optimistic. When the Spider-Verse 2 Part 1, I don't know the name of it, I just know it's the sequel, because I keep on forgetting it. When that trailer dropped, I was like I had to watch it. I think Spider-Verse I just enjoy a lot more, and I think I went so quickly that I muted everyone. But hey, that's why it's a close battle. Your turn.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's really hard to compare the 2 movies, because, like you said, TJ, there's just so much more you can do in animation, and No Way Home and Into the Spider-Verse are my number 1 and 2, because they're just both so incredible. But I think I have to put No Way Home first because of what they've managed to do with real people, and how that made us all feel. And it was crazy. That movie was a heck of a ride. It's been so long in the making. 20 years. and we finally got it. And so for that reason, I got to put it above Spider-Verse. But Spider-Verse is like, it's the standard. It really is. But because it's animated, that's why I have to put No Way Home first.
And as good as Andrew Garfield's performance was in the movie, I think his performance denying that he was in the movie for a year prior was like even better. He's still
it's a Photoshop
that he was not in that movie.
Yeah, that's what makes it even more hilarious. Like there was a thing going around. I don't know if it was true or not, but Tobey Maguire just basically gave a nod, like, "Yeah, I'm in the movie."
Oh yeah, when you run into a guy in the park and took a selfie with him.
Yeah, it's like, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's like, the thing is, and just going off topic a little bit, but in terms of box office, I feel like they would have beat Endgame's record if they had just shown not them, but just shown a tease of them more and not denied it. Everyone knew.
But I think that was what was part of the fun, was the denial, despite everyone knowing they have to be in there. Alfred Molina, he's an OG. He just comes out and is like, "Yeah, I'm in it." He don't care if he wasn't supposed to say it. So people know he's coming back. Jamie Foxx had confirmed it. All these people were coming back. The trailer shows them. So it's like everybody knows they're there, but they still just keep denying it. And that was part of the fun.
I guess it just it became like a backwards way of marketing because of all the memes of like maybe that was their strategy.
I mean, we really marketed the movie for them 100% more than they did for themselves.
That's true.
We all hyped the movie up for months and months and months. Different theories, different this. Oh, no posters coming out? Let's think about some new theories. No trailers coming out? Let's think about some new and like they really strung us along the entire time, and we did everything for them.
I'm thinking that is true because they really didn't start marketing this movie until like 2 months before it came out. Like, I mean, they didn't do anything. That no trailer, no nothing.
Yeah, we didn't get a poster till like a month before, for real.
Yeah. And the last trailer came out a month ago, 3 weeks ago. Like it wasn't that, I forget when it was. It wasn't that long ago. Like also that's an adorable dog, TJ. It's really cute. Is that Obi-Wan?
That's Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan. Very cute. Very cute. What kind of dog is that?
A good dog.
It is a good dog.
The best kind.
But no, I think for me, I don't know what rank it still. I think I saw Spider-Man 2 number 1, but I'm really enjoyed. But I want to ask you guys, where do you think things are gonna go from here? Do you think that Sony is gonna make another Spider-Man movie? Not with Tom Holland. Another one. Andrew Garfield.
I anticipate that it's very, very possible. Look at how much money this made, and like we said, it was primarily that anticipation of seeing Tobey come back, seeing Andrew come back. Now we have, Sam Raimi doing Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, so he's getting right back into the comic book Marvel movies. I think that there's a good chance that they give Tobey a Spider-Man 4 that takes place after the events of this back in his own universe.
I certainly hope so.
I would love that because I think that I came in a little bit late, so I didn't necessarily get to talk about Tobey and Andrew with you guys. But in my opinion, the way that they were in this movie, all three of them, is like the perfect iteration. Tobey, I like Tobey Spider-Man. Loved his Peter Parker. But him as like, this 40-year-old dad mentor Spider is like the perfect. It's perfect. It's like the Peter from Into the Spider-Verse, but like a little bit less depressing and like more fun. So Tobey's age right now is his perfect Spider-Man, and Andrew's age right now is his perfect Spider-Man, and Tom's age right now is his perfect Spider-Man, in my opinion. So
I agree.
So if we were to be able to get a Spider-Man 4 or to get the Amazing Spider-Man 3. Either way, I think we're in good hands because the age that both of them are now is perfect for their iterations of the character.
I agree. TJ, your mic is muted there.
Wait, Obi-Wan,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dog cursed us.
Did you want to say something? I think you lost it. It's frozen. Yeah, okay. Did you want to say something, TJ? I can't hear it. Basically, yeah, I agree. Now, what do you?
How about now? Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
There we go. My AirPods died midstream, and it was still trying to connect to them.
Did you want to say something? You were trying to say something.
Yes, I was. Garrett, we were texting about that right after we had both watched the movie for the first time, and I felt like I didn't really know what you meant after one watch, but after two, I totally did, because it was like when we think about our criticisms of Tobey from those first movies, and it's like Spider-Man 2 when his mask comes off, and he's just a kid. He's no older than my son. Well, what do you mean? He's the same age as you. Like,
yeah, he looks 28.
Exactly. And so that's what it was so great to see him as a 40-year-old Spider-Man, because he looked like that kind of from the get-go. And he didn't have the same charisma and humor Spider-Man that Andrew and Tom had, the sameness. At this age, he doesn't need to. He just played the role of older mentor Spider-Man of, I'm going to help you make the right decision because I've already made these mistakes. And he crushed that role perfectly.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I probably didn't explain that to you very well in text message, how I portrayed my thoughts, because I was having a hard time putting them to words. So what you read after the first time was probably just a lot of gibberish anyways. So I'm glad that you were able to see my thoughts after your second rewatch.
And another thing that I think that would make that so great is, it's all about the sacrifice your own happiness, sacrifice what you want to be Spider-Man. So if we go back to him now, we're going to see what that looks like long term. What kind of life is he stuck leading that is not going to be his ideal life as Peter Parker, because he's chosen to be Spider-Man. And I would just love to see what that looks like in the future.
I'd also love to see the bitterness and like rage that Andrew was talking about, right? I kind of want to see Andrew go off the rails as Spider-Man. Yeah, he was sounding like, oh, I did some ish back in the day,
That brings me to a theory that's going around when he mentioned that, is that he actually got the symbiote. And if they do that story, I will be so happy. But speaking of symbiote, let's talk about that post-credits scene.
Well, real quick before we get that, I feel like Andrew, that is kind of discounted because Tobey talks about having to deal with Venom and a big black gooey alien thing, and I feel like, if you also fought that is something that resonates with you, so you probably would mention that.
Yeah, you don't forget that. You don't forget fighting a gooey alien.
Here's where I'm at.
Go ahead.
So this is kind of a segue that connects the two, and it connects us to the post-credit scene as well. It seemed like a very clear. Now, maybe this is me going to aerospace engineer from WandaVision mode, but the way the camera panned to Andrew and he said, I want to fight an alien. And then we go to the post-credit scene and we see Tom Hardy transfer back to his universe. What I'm wondering is, I don't think we're going to get an Amazing Spider-Man 4. I don't think we're going to get Amazing Spider-Man 3. I don't think we're going to get a Spider-Man 4 with Tobey. They have so many other movies on the docket right now, with Morbius, with more Venom movies, with Silk, whatever it is. I think we could see Andrew in Venom 3. I think we could see Andrew Spider-Man in Venom 3, and Venom 3 could be a TASM 3 / Venom 3 crossover. The small piece of symbiote is left over in Tom's universe, so we can get a full, proper black suit Spider-Man movie, and then we can see Andrew and Tom go toe-to-toe in a Venom 3.
Now, I like that. I do think it's possible instead of, and I've seen this online, people talking about this, it's possible that instead of, like you said, doing a basic tournament 3 or something, have the Venom or, well, Morbius is in the MCU. We see, what's his name, but that's Morbius. Morbius is confusing. We'll get to that, but well, wait a minute. I just thought of something. If he's saying we are Venom, maybe Morbius takes place after Tom Holland's Spider-Man symbiote storyline, and he gets. Probably not, but
that would be crazy time manipulation.
That would be, yeah, it would. But I do think it's possible that Venom and some of those other characters may be in one of those universes. I think Andrews.
I just galaxy brain.
Sense. What's that?
He just had a thought.
Okay, go ahead.
Villains fighting Spider-Man in Spider-Man No Way Home. All the villains who knew Spider-Man was Peter Parker got transferred to Tom Holland's Peter Parker's universe to fight him. What if during the spell, Adrian Toomes' Vulture, who knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man, got transferred to Andrew Garfield's Sonyverse universe, and that is when he interacted with Michael Morbius, and that's what we see in the trailer.
I don't know. It's possible. I don't know, though, because I think his mind just would have been erased.
I think it's most likely just an alternate version.
Maybe.
I agree. Yeah. I think that's most likely too. Anytime I get a wild theory, I like putting it on the record, so if it happens, then I can take credit.
There you go. There you go.
So are we supposed to assume now that there are no symbiotes in the MCU?
There are symbiotes in the MCU.
Well, this Venom leaving his piece of goo in our universe is that's the way that symbiotes are going to start in this universe?
I agree. I think so, yes.
So that brings up, Nowhere, the decapitated head of a Celestial, is decapitated by Null in the comics, who is like the symbiote king, for lack of better explanation. Right. And he, correct me if I'm wrong, if someone else knows more about this, but can make symbiotes, I believe, right?
I think so.
Makes an army. So Nowhere is already decapitated in the MCU.
Right.
Symbiotes are just now becoming a thing in the MCU. So who decapitated that Celestial? Because that's not an easy feat.
So a question
it was me.
Brought up by a fan. Oh, that's the wrong one. A question brought up by a fan says, can Marvel use the word symbiote and show it if Spider-Man leaves?
I did it.
If Spider-Man leaves the MCU, I think what Robin is trying to say is that if they introduce symbiotes into the MCU with Spider-Man, if Spider-Man leaves the MCU, then what happens? And I think that's pretty easy to explain, Robin, is that they just never mention it again.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much the answer. And I think they can use the word symbiote and show it, because they showed it at the end. Now, whether they use the word symbiote, we don't know yet. But I hope so. I mean,
I don't think that's going to be something we're going to have to worry about, because I think we're seeing there's just far too much money to be made for them to not figure it out. And that was our from comicbook.com, Brandon Davis, when he was at the premiere, he had an interview with a exec from Sony, and they had already talked about how they have plans to lend Tom back to the MCU for another Marvel movie, and they already have plans to bring in Marvel characters to the Sonyverse as well. And so I definitely think that there's just far too much money to be made, and we're getting Tom for at least 3 more MCU movies, and
I think
there's a lot more Spidey MCU to come.
Also,
exactly.
Yeah, I think, and that's what we really saw leading up to No Way Home, especially with the interviews with Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige. You know, I think they have a plan, and I think that we don't know a lot of it, but I think it's probably a lot farther along than we.
I just really can't wait to see him. I'm actually kind of happy, like he's like alone and everything, and his back's against the wall. He's broke because that is the perfect time to introduce the symbiote. He had everything. Now he's lost it.
I actually don't think we're gonna get it till Spider-Man 5.
You don't think so? Okay.
I think Spider-Man 5 will be symbiote time, and I think Spider-Man 4 is going to be Kingpin assembling a Sinister Six and them actually teaming up to fight him alone.
I would love to see that, of course.
And maybe Daredevil helps him out.
I was gonna say that little symbiote goo is just gonna lead to another post-credit scene, like, "Yay, I'm finally going to the pool."
Yeah.
Wait, I can't swim. And then dissolves and no more symbiote.
Oh man!
just to.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing.
That was a great Venom, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm doing a lot.
That is a good impression, and that's one thing that did kind of disappoint me is that they teased at the end of Venom. We saw it together, TJ, in New York at a screening. It's very cool. Everyone went crazy for that. Everyone went crazy. Oh, Spidey's gonna fight Spider-Man.
Yeah.
No, that was so big.
No, just some jokes at a tiki bar.
Yeah, it was like that. That's where I was like, "Oh, we lost TJ. He'll be back." Yeah, sometimes the internet cuts out. Yeah, that's one thing where I was like, "Oh, that just sucked." I mean, it's like that part. So I like that the symbiote's there, and now we can get maybe a Eddie Brock in the MCU that is closely tied to Spider-Man, and make that a really good story. Where,
or if it goes on Matt Gargan, because we still haven't done anything with him.
Oh,
yeah, I've heard that on Twitter a few times. Yeah,
true. So,
hey guys,
but I am still here, Tom Hardy.
Okay,
I gotta take off.
Let me do one. Let me do real quick. I want to know if you want to see Andrew again or Toby, and what's your score of the movie?
Okay, I would 100% go Toby. Like I said, that's what I grew up on. Those are my favorite Spider-Man movies. Granted, I think No Way Home just took the #1 spot, but Spider-Man 2 is still right there. And I did the review for this for FandomWire, and I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. I loved it.
Awesome. TJ, what? We're going to wrap it up. Did you hear what I said earlier? Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did. So for me, I would rather see more of Andrew in the future. I kind of have storylines built up in my head for the two. I'd love to see Andrew go toe-to-toe with Tom Hardy's Venom. If we see more of Toby, I don't want it to be in a solo Toby movie. I want it to be in us seeing his death, and that being the birth of Miles Morales' Spider-Man in that universe, who we would then later see come into the MCU. And so those are the two storylines I would hope for if we see either one again. I'd prefer to see more Andrew just because I like his iteration more than Toby's. Overall, I think I got a 9 out of 10 for me. It's number 4 on my MCU rankings currently. I have it behind Winter Soldier, Infinity War, and Endgame. And so it's tough. I have small nitpicky things with the movie that hold it below it, but it was such an amazing experience. It was so much fun.
As a former 7 Webhead podcast host, what did you think of the movie, and which Spider-Man do you want to see more of after this movie?
I just like to do rankings. I don't like giving number reviews. My argument to that is people just skip to that and go, "Oh, he gave it an A. Good. Okay, I'm done." That's why I just do I give it number 1, and it's like, "Oh, you really liked it?" Well, it's like, but no, I mean, I really appreciate this movie. The fan service didn't feel foamed in to the point where I'm like, that towards it. It was enough of a balance. I was like, oh, I'm in this. I enjoy everything that's going on. But in terms of what Spider-Man, more Venom. I would like to see both, because I kind of want them to maybe appear in Across the Spider-Verse Part 2 or something. It'd be cool to see them just come back. Oh no! We got a reaction.
I want that.
Yeah, that way we can get more of them. And yeah, it's voice and animated, but it's animation,
we'll know.
baby.
We'll know.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yes,
yeah.
Yeah. So I gotta agree. I want both of them. Like I said before, I think that where they are right now is their perfect iteration of the character. So I can't imagine Toby getting better than what I just saw, or Andrew getting better than what I just saw. So it's hard for me to choose one of the two that I'd rather see more, because that they were just peak Spider-Man to me where they just were. So I want to see both of them again. Can't choose. Sorry, you're not going to make me. I won't. As far as the movie, I got to give it like a 9.7, like a 9.8. There's also a couple things like TJ where it just doesn't quite push it over the top for me, but I almost could never replicate that viewing experience. And that goes a long way for me. And it's sitting at number 2 in my, wow, we just got a 4 out of 10 in the chat.
I saw that.
That blew my mind. 9.8 for me. Sorry, Audrey. You're not going to agree. I feel like it's garbage.
No, I'm just kidding.
Was this account created yesterday?
Respect your opinion. I respectfully have it as a 9.8.
Yeah, I think I should have whatever. It was like a 9 or 8.5. I did a letterbox review. I don't remember where I had it, and I put something on Twitter. But yeah, I loved it. I would like to see. It's so hard to pick if I had to choose. I want to see both, but I don't know. I love Toby, and maybe like an old man Spider-Man story with him would be great. With Sam Raimi, just give us like a Logan style Sam Raimi. Like just do that. But I would love to see. I think Andrew Garfield though has a lot more story to tell, whereas Toby, I think, has maybe one more story to tell to kind of finish out his journey. But I do feel like Andrew could be, and I think maybe a series would be good, like a streaming series on Netflix or Disney Plus or wherever Sony can get it. But I think maybe a series would be good.
Spider-Man TV series would be wild.
That would be
awesome.
And it would differentiate. It wouldn't confuse people. Like, wait a minute, I thought Tom Holland was the Spider-Man for the movie. So it would differentiate it a little bit. Be maybe more grounded being on TV, but I don't know. I'd love to see that. I think Andrew is probably has more story to tell, but man, I'd love to see an old man Spider-Man with Toby. All right, guys, I think that'll do it today. You can follow me at Riley B. Johnson. I think Josh's, he left. Josh's social medias, I think it's at Mr. Movie Guy. I think it's 86. So just look up Josh O'Ryan.
Yeah, Mr. Movie Guy 86.
There we go. And and then Lewis was at Nerdlecca. That's his handle. JT, where can people find you online?
So yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TJ_Zwarich5. Garrett and I are going to be streaming again tonight at 7:30 Eastern with our man Task from the Super Suit Squad show. And so we're going to be breaking down No Way Home in depth, going through each tidbit And so we're going to be streaming tonight at 7:30, and that's going to be available on the Agents of Fandom podcast as well. So make sure you go follow that.
Awesome. Forrest, where can people follow you?
I'm just on YouTube. I'm not really that much of a social person, but I'm still SpexGuy1118. I'm putting that in the chat just so anyone can know how to spell it, because every time I did, it says it sounds like I'm saying something inappropriate. Yeah, I was 10 years ago. I didn't know how to spell specs correctly. But I'm hearing my voice. But mind you, it's just yeah, I'm not on there that much, but hopefully in the future I can do more stuff for y'all on FandomWire, or probably make a video essay covering Marvel Spider-Man 2 and No Way Home. Who knows if I'll do that? Maybe. But yeah, no. Just follow me there. I might upload something.
Yeah, through your video essays, we have a Spider-Man No Way Home video essay coming to our YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel that we discuss all things storytelling, behind the scenes and whatnot, and really good stuff on there. I'll pull so everybody can see it. Just search FandomWire. It's a new channel. It's been a short few weeks. It's been around for a few weeks. Pretty good. You can check that out. Subscribe. And hit the notification bell. Yeah, we're gonna probably come out on Thursday or Friday with it. So, should be good. It's gonna be Josh is writing it. It's gonna be really fun. So, Garrett, where can people find you?
Yeah, so you guys can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Real Slim Blaney, BLANEY. I do a lot of FandomWire stuff, do some gaming stuff, and I talk to this guy often about things. So yeah, go ahead and follow me. Keep an eye on our stuff. You can also follow the Agents of Fandom at Twitter, Agents of Fandom, TikTok, Agents of Fandom, and Facebook, Agents of Fandom.
And Instagram.
Everywhere,
especially Instagram and TikTok. We just started those up, and we're popping on those lately. We're firing theory videos every other day.
Yeah, we've got some crazy giveaways to do too.
Big time.
That's awesome.
Big time.
So
That's awesome.
keep your eyes peeled on those channels, guys.
Yes, and definitely follow any of the main FandomWire pages. Just at FandomWire, wherever you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. But YouTube especially, because we're trying to grow that. Yeah. So really exciting stuff going on. Can't wait to have you guys on some other time. I can't wait to see that Agents of Fandom stream tonight. What is that, 7:30?
We're gonna have some fun. 7:30 Eastern. Right between the afternoon football game and the evening football games. We figured we'd tie it right in between. We know there's a big Venn diagram of comic book fans and sports fans, and so put it right in between and gives people something to.
Awesome. Well,
I'll be working.
Well, I can't wait to go see Spider-Man No Way Home again. I don't know when, but sure I'll try to fit it in. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thanks for having us, Riley.
Yeah, yeah, it was
fun.
time. And we'll see you guys next time.